Hello and welcome to Cannabis is Not the Answer. For the first video in a very long time, I just saw on YouTube, it's almost 10 months ago since I made the last video. And there have been a lot of things going on, building up, the company Flower of Hemp. And you can see it. We are selling CBD oil, but the most important thing is to communicate that cannabis is not the answer. And we want to communicate what is the answer, and it is all about addressing the cause instead of just providing a cure. And with that said, this video I'm going to make now is a bit in the same mentality, and I found it the appropriate at the right moment now to get back to kick off this YouTube channel again. And what this video is going to be about is the coronavirus that is, on everybody's lips, or at least this is how it appears to me. I don't follow the mass media, but just from listening to people and seeing stuff on Facebook, there's a big fear of this virus is going to spread to an epidemic, and I would like to share my point of view and why I think that it is so misunderstood what this really is. And I believe the reason why it is so misunderstood is because we are so disconnected from nature that we don't really see how nature, or how the experience itself is basically taking care of itself. So with that said, I also have to say that while I usually go a lot into the psychosomatic aspects of a disease and what lies underneath, I would say that this video is primarily going to be about the physical aspect, the 3D perspective on this virus, and what all, what is a part of that scenario. So first off, I have to say that I am no doctor, and I am no anything else that you automatically should just listen to. I always encourage people to look at everything. The whole world is your Bible. But if you decide to trust something that I say, if you decide to go with that and implement that in your life, then it is not me you're trusting, but yourself. So you are responsible for whatever you are, doing in your life, and whatever you are, basically teaching your children. So, I said that my point of view is not very, allopathic. Like, I don't believe in just, attacking the symptom. I like to see what is, underneath or beyond what we call disease. And how I see a lot of the things that are going on in this, allopathic community basically is that we are always basically shooting the messenger. A bit like, for example, if we get out into a kitchen and we have not cleaning the kitchen very well, and it is full of like foods and fruits, for example, and because of all the fruits are there are a lot of fruit flies, because this is the way that nature breaks down the old so something new can come forward. The standard way to tackle this situation by the allopathic community would be to spray toxins against these fruit flies, instead of going through the hustle and the pain of removing the rotting fruit. And this is how I see it is usually communicated in our official and established perspective, way of seeing health, that it is all about focusing on a cure, not about on the cause of the problem. And this is also the reason why this channel or the motto of my CBD oil company is cannabis is not the answer, because it is just a way of treating a symptom, but it is not the cause itself. So I would strongly recommend people looking into what is the root of any given problem. So if we take, for example, a virus, I mean, in nature, everything in nature is basically in some sort of flow. Always. As soon as we have something that is, stagnated, it becomes unhealthy. If it is water, or if it is air, or whatever it is. Nature will always renew itself, and it does that by having the motto, you can say, survival of the fittest. That means the stronger survives while the weaker is consumed. And we see this, in a lot of different ways in nature. If it is hyenas who like eating the weakest of the antelopes, or you have lice breaking down the weakest of the plants, or what is out of touch with nature. I remember when I was a child, and my grandmother, she was growing a lot of salads and all these kind of things, and I saw that always her the food that she was growing was always attacked by all kind of these kind of animals, like lice and all what have you. And I thought back then it's because salad tastes way better than dandelion, for example, because I saw everything was in nature was not attacked. But I have since come to understand that it is because all of these foods that she was growing were not nature. So nature comes in and breaks it down, so something stronger, or can say more natural, can take over. Or we have termites, eating the weakest trees, and therefore also going to people's furniture and all these kind of things, because it is not natural. So we're having all these animals in nature that are breaking down the weak. So you can say it is, we need atoms for creation, but you can also, if you go into more Eastern philosophy, you have Shiva that is breaking down, always, breaking down the weaker, so something new can occur within the experience of the universe, or however you are, inspecting the experience, basically. So this survival of the fittest goes on in nature, but it also goes on within us, because we are nature. Nature is not something external from us that we can use sometimes in order to, enhance our health, or, whatever. It will enhance our health because our distance to nature, inner and outer nature, is, the cause of dis-ease. But when we are in touch with nature, inner and outer nature, we will get back at ease, and what we call dis-ease will go away. But this kind of survival of the fittest also happens on a cellular level in our body. So when we have a body that has been, systematically, intoxicated and broken down and not treated very well, what the body does, it will, kickstart, these kind of breaking down the weaker cells. But we have various ways of doing that. One thing is, for example, what we call the common cold, where the body is trying to regenerate itself. The body itself starts, raising the temperature. We call that fever and think it is a thing that we can, so we're taking like fever reducing medication. We're going against the body, we're going against nature, because this kind of pain is, I don't want too much to go into this, but it is often through the comfort seeking, it's the avoiding the pain. So to address the issue will oftentimes be, will come with a certain kind of pain. And that's why these kind of healing processes, healing is always going through the pain. It is not avoiding the pain. So when we have then, for example, in our body, we have like cold, we have the fever, we have, we are releasing mucus because there are toxins in that. We are sweating, we are losing appetite, and all these kind of things. It is something that the body initiates to improve our overall health. But we then see ourselves as some sort of victim in this. And we are then attacking the attempt of the body or nature to bring us into balance. And we have also things like, like fungus that are also breaking down things within ourselves that are not supposed to be there. Or we have tapeworms that are eating stuff that doesn't belong in the body. Nature will always come in and try to create a natural environment. Bacteria is one of our greatest helpers in this, but it is really portrayed as something horrible. Because what bacterium does is that will break down, especially if we have a very acidic body. So what we are doing, we are pasteurizing and taking antibiotics. Antibiotic just means anti-nature, basically. So we want to avoid nature to make us natural again, basically. And the pasteurization invented by Louis Pasteur. Louis Pasteur has supposedly or apparently said on his deathbed that Claude Bernard was right. The microbe is nothing. The environment of the terrain is everything. So the guy who, gave the name for the pasteurization for, shooting the messenger, basically, the bacterium, he admitted on his deathbed, apparently, that the bacteria is not the problem itself. It is the environment that it is in. So of course, if we look at, places within our body where there is an imbalance, we will see there's a lot of bacteria. But the bacteria itself is not the problem. The bacteria is there to address the issue. And the more we then fight the bacteria, the more unnatural we make the environment within ourselves, and the more disconnected we get from nature. And that is why people who have taken a lot of antibiotics and a lot of all these, and unnatural things, as soon as they get in touch with nature, they get sick. But the sickness is again just the body trying to get back into a natural environment. And you see that, for example, in nature. If you go to nature and you have a lake out in the forest, you have like 10 animals drinking out of the same little pond, and none of them get sick. But as soon as we humans, some of us, drink this kind of bacterium water, we will get, diarrhea, and we will get sick and whatever. And this is because nature is trying to, cleanse itself in order to get back at health. And another thing we have is virus. And virus is again then there to break down the weaker cells so the new can come in instead. But that is something we often don't want. And if you see, for example, now this hysteria with the coronavirus, I mean, I don't even know what the death toll is right now, but it is primarily old people or people who had already a bad health or have had disease or whatever, who are dying from this. And that is because nature comes in and breaks down the weak, so something new, so basically to regenerate. And most of us can handle this. This is a way of nature to optimize our health. And some of us have been so distant from nature, so compromised themselves that they cannot, do that or survive that basically. But when I then see, from what I have heard about this whole communication about how to handle this virus or this challenge of health, you can say, I have heard nothing about getting healthy, how you're gonna strengthen the cell itself, because when it comes down to it, our health is just, a representation of the health of the cell itself. I mean, our body is nothing but cells, something between, 50 and 100 billion cells. Everything, if your eyes or your tongue or whatever it is, everything you see is just cells. And if the cells are weak, then they will eventually have to get broken down. And some of these old people, they will not make it. But the thing is, instead of we are, told that how to, for example, detoxify the body from all these unnatural cell degenerating substances, or how to strengthen the cell, how to eat healthy. We are not told anything like this. We are like told that, oh, if you are lucky, we are going to produce a vaccine, or we are going to give you some chemicals to stop this virus. But the thing is the same as, virus or the cold or whatever. Like, I have friends who tell me like, oh, I have the greatest cure against the common cold. I just drink a lot of rum. But the rum is simply just stopping the body, or basically stopping nature, that you make the environment so unnatural. So the body instead has to deal with this unnatural environment instead of letting nature, regenerate the system. So we are putting ourselves in this victim mentality, like it is me against nature, basically. But it is, as it oftentimes is, that we are basically attacking the symptom with the problem itself, or with the thing that caused the symptom. Like here, that we are trying to stop the body's detoxification, or the body's attempt of regenerating itself with loading a lot of extra toxins onto the body. And this is something that goes on in a lot of aspects within our society. We're the same about, for example, our economy. How did we handle all the debt in our society? We just stimulated a lot of extra consumption. Or how has, the terrorist threat, how do we handle the terrorist threat? We're trying to strengthen the grip in the Middle East, which is like the cause of the terrorism, basically. And the same goes on for health, because we, or some of us, don't want to get into address the core issue of what is going on here. And there are, of course, some things underneath these toxins that don't want to get addressed, and that are some of these feelings. There's a reason why, if we have feelings we don't want to feel, that we say, oh, I need a cigarette now, or I need a drink, because we are basically suppressing our feelings, or we are rewriting the chemistry with these toxins. And this then goes in our fatty tissue, and we store this, and this, people who have done fasting know how all these emotions come up, and things from our past, come back to the surface. And it's by going through that we liberate ourselves from this, and this is how we then can heal. So it's not necessarily a physical thing, the healing itself, but it is, of course, the most logical way to pursue it. But there's a reason why some people all of a sudden heal with a near-death experience, other with a psychedelic experience, other with I don't know, some other kind of epiphany, or people get in love or whatever, because you in that moment release some of these pains. You address some things that, you know, you bring your darkness into the light, basically. But I actually didn't want to go too much into these kind of aspects of it right now. And as we get back in touch with who we are, and we stop, you know, using all these external things, especially toxins, to suppress these sides of ourselves. I mean, that's a reason why I say I need a cigarette, I need a drink. That is because these pains, this is a way for us to handle our pain, or to rewrite the chemistry, basically, of our environment. In that moment, we are using something unnatural to not feel the naturally occurring emotions, basically. So, and our lymphatic system is a representation of that flow. Like Jesus says in the Gospel of Thomas, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. But if you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. So that will stagnate, and that is what then will, you know, basically, and that comes from control, and control is the masculine aspect, and on a chemical level, that is a low pH. That means that's acidic, and that will chew on your cells, and that will lead to the inflammation that the body then initiates to handle this. But it all starts with basically allowing the truth, which is love. And that is why love is the answer. That is why you are the answer. So by going through this, and now I'll go back to the physical level, that would be to get, you know, activate our lymphatic system, because our lymphatic system is basically the sewage system of the body. It takes the wastes away from the cells. So I don't want to get too much into this, but you know, our adrenal gland, that on another level is represented by our root chakra, our connection to the ground. By getting in tune with that, because that controls our kidney function, that is basically filtering our lymphatic system. So by getting these things back into tune, we will automatically, you know, drain our body for all this sewage. And this is at least one really good way to get back into health and help assist the body in regenerate itself. I'll also look into the spleen, because that's cleaning the blood, and there are a lot of these kind of aspects where we can help our body on a, you can say, on a physical level to regenerate itself. Because if not, this nature will come in and do it for us. Like, for example, before I changed my diet, I was 28 back then. I lived mainly off fast food, takeaway, alcohol, cigarettes, and what have you. I had once or every other, I think maybe once a year, I had the flu. And I was laying there for 10 days, absolutely mucus, and had no energy, and I had a cold also. I was really sick a lot of the time, and that is because the body tried as good as it could to get rid of all that shit that had accumulated. So, and then after I turned a raw vegan and was fasting, detoxified once or twice a year, so I didn't have a cold, no nothing, for 4.5 years. And now I'm a bit more, you know, I still live really healthy, but not as strict. So now I maybe have the cold once or every second year. And right when that happens, I go on a dry fast, and it lasts maybe 48 hours. I assist the body, I let the body do its work, and then I don't need all these viral infections or anything like that. But it is only there to help us to break down the weak, so the strong, something new can, you know, blossom up. And this is why, for example, you hear now in China, this coronavirus is, oh, it's attacking the lungs, as if it is some animal running in trying to harass us. But could it be that China has the poorest air quality in the world, and a lot of these Chinese people, the tissue in their lung is so bad, so now nature comes in and breaks down and gets rid of all these damaged lung cells, so the body can produce some new cells to regenerate itself. And again, if you're old and weak, you might not survive this. And this is why I would really prefer to see like government stuff going out. Say, okay, how can you help assist people to regenerate these things instead of just isolating them and giving them further chemicals. So yeah, so if anyone would ask me if I believe that this can turn into a worldwide epidemic with millions of deaths, I don't think so. I don't feel that. But who knows? I mean, if nature or something on a higher level says, now, okay, there's too much disconnection, too much bad health, we need to wipe some of it off, in order to regenerate humanity. If you see the world as a body and we are the cells within this body, who knows? But what I would recommend is that we, each and one of us, strengthen our body, strengthen the health of our cell, and then this will not have to happen. But again, it starts with loving ourselves, loving and allowing the experience as it is. And that is why cannabis is not the answer. That is why all this allopathic medicine is not the answer. And this is why you are the answer and love is the answer. Okay, I think that was it. If you have any questions, you can ask them down below. And have a wonderful moment right now.